Today we're going to talk about Pear Deck. So if you are trying to create a Pear Deck lesson, you can do this two ways. You can go to peardeck.com, log in, and you can click Create a Lesson. From there, it's going to open up a Google Slide presentation. So to create a Pear Deck, you do have to do this through Google Slides. So you can, again, go through the Pear Deck website, or you can open up a Google Slide and click Add-ons and click Pear Deck for Google Slide add-ons. If you don't have this add-on, go ahead and click Get Add-ons. It might be the first one, but if not, you can definitely just type in Pear Deck and search for it, and it should come up. Very popular. So you go ahead, download the add-on. So from there, you open the Pear Deck add-on, and you have everything you need to create a Pear Deck. So they have this kind of custom slide just to start you out and give you instructions, but we don't need that, so we can delete it. So from here, we have Start Lesson, we have our library template with pre-made lessons. You have different options like a text box, having them write something, multiple choice numbers. You can even insert a website for them, or you can have them draw or drag something. So we're going to click on Templates. And what I really like about Pear Deck is how they break things up. So they have beginning of the lesson, which will be like bell ringers or warm-ups, whatever you like to call it. During the lesson, they have some assessments or activities for you guys to do, or transitions, and then the end of the lesson, which is basically just like an exit ticket. So we're going to go through each of these. So we always start at the beginning of the lesson. So this is actually my most favorite slide to use for Pear Deck, just because I love the instructions it gives when the students come in. So again, you can edit anything on any of these slides because, again, it is just a Google slide. So everything is up for grabs. So bell ringer, as you come in and get settled, follow these instructions. Find your seat, take out your classroom device, and Pear Deck answer what was your main takeaway from the homework. So this is actually really great. You might not want to edit this, but you can. You might say, find your seat, take out your classroom device, and get your whiteboard, maybe, if you guys use whiteboard. You could say, what did you learn from today's homework? Or you can just use the slide to ask some sort of question. Again, typing slides, you might want to say, draw something that you know about today's topic already if you're using flipped classroom. So they would have already watched the video before they came to class. So I like that one as well. And I also like this draggable here as well. So I'm going to show you, once we're done, what this looks like from teacher and student point of view. So this is going to be a little icon they drag on whichever side that they feel like best fits them. So I might want to make that their very first slide. I don't know why this isn't moving though. There we go. So I'm going to make that their very first slide. No, the second slide actually. There we go. So these are some of the beginning of lessons that they already have. So moving on to during the lesson. So summarize what you've just learned. Maybe that's toward the end of the lesson. That can even be used as an exit ticket. Is statement true or false? If you have just some true or false questions that you want to ask, that would be really great for them. Drag a dot on how you're feeling. So depending on if you're doing flipped classroom or just a traditional style class, you can maybe use this at the beginning to see how the kid's feeling about the topic, or you could use this toward the end of the lesson so you can kind of gauge, do they get it? Do we need to go back over it? Again, some more draggable slides, instruction slides. Let's see, I really like this one. So I know sometimes we might be having some 90-minute classes. Depending on how things are next year, we might do AB days and have longer classes while the kids are in school. So I really think it's great to have brain breaks or some type of breaks to kind of just break up the class, because for middle schoolers, 90 minutes is a lot for one subject, and not all kids like math, so it's a really great break for them and a great refresher just to get them feeling refreshed. So I can do a whole separate video on brain breaks. If that's something you want to see, make sure you leave a comment down below and I'll go ahead and make a video if that's something we all want to see on some great brain breaks. But I'm going to go ahead and leave the slide here. We'll just leave stretch break. It's a really cool image. I like that. But again, you don't have to use this image. You can completely move it. You can remove it. You could say, let's take a stretch break, and you can write the different stretches down, number them 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatnot. And maybe we don't want to do 5 minutes. We want to say 3 minutes. So I do like that. This is a really awesome slide as well that they already have for you. So basically it's just giving instructions, and they all come with really great pictures. So it looks like a really good complete presentation. So we might have some steps for the activity. Again, you can change this. You don't have to have this. You can delete the picture. It's whatever you want. So that's a great thing as well. End of the lesson. So a lot of these are just reflections, connect to your own life, maybe do a summary. How do you feel about it? Again, most of these are going to be summary or reflections. So you could, again, you don't have to do necessarily what's the most important thing from today's lesson, because it may just be one simple thing or there might be too much. So you can specify a little bit, and let's just say we're learning about multiplying fractions. You could say, tell me the process steps for multiplying fractions. And then the students will be prompted to write something in, so that's great. So you can do that as your full lesson, of course, add in some extra questions, but this is where it actually gets really great. So they have a whole section for math and other categories or subjects as well, so you can tell the other teachers in your school. But I really love it because they have some really good slides just for math, and you can make your own questions. So this one, it says, what mathematical questions could we use for that slide? So I don't really like that question too much. It might work for some of you guys, but you can always change it. You could say, what is the volume of the box? And you might be thinking, well, it doesn't even have numbers. How would they find that out? Well, again, it's a Google slide, so we can do whatever we want to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically quickly here kind of white out the letters, or you don't even have to do that. You could just say L is equal to whatever number you want. Again, it's completely up to you. That's the best as it's going to get. It's not perfect, but we can go ahead and kind of clear out all of these. I'm just going to copy and paste this last one. And then we can insert our own text box. So insert text box, and we could write 5 inches. Whoops. We could write 5 inches. Just kind of making up something here as I go. 4 inches. And I'm just going to do 6. Or no, let's do 7 inches for the last one. So you can say, what is the volume of the box? So we just changed it as we wanted it to. So we do have some multiple choice slides, a draggable slide, like which of these pictures don't belong. Again, you can get really creative with this one. I can't think of any ways that I could use this for math. Another great one that I love is this one, because it has all of these different shapes and you can make your own problem. So you can kind of just pick one. So I'm going to leave the variables on there. So I'm just going to say h is equal to 5, and oops, I keep doing that. And I'm going to say w is equal to 10. And you know what? We don't use W, we use B for base. So I'm going to change that as well. So again, you can change it to fit your needs, which is great. And for all of these, I can kind of just highlight them. I don't want to highlight all of that because that would delete everything. So I'm just going to do little by little. That's going to delete the bottom. So it says insert your prompt here. So I could just say, what is the area of the triangle? Okay. And I can delete that. So again, I made my own question, and this is a drawable slide, so students will be able to draw on this. So it is really good to leave some room for them to actually be able to show their work. Here is also another great slide. They have a number line already built for you. Of course, you can change these numbers as you see fit, so you don't have to use just this part of the number line. You could do all negatives, whatever you want. So in 6th grade math, I know we have the students have to locate numbers. So we could say locate the opposite of -2. So this one is a drawable slide, so they could just draw a dot, but better yet, we do have these other types of slides here as well. So I kind of want this one to be a draggable slide instead, not a drawable one. So literally all I have to do, I already have the slide up, I like everything that's on it, I'm just going to go over here and click draggable. And so now it's working on changing it from the students drawing on it to draggable. And the great thing about draggable is you can change the size of the dot, and you actually don't even have to have the dot. So you have all of these different symbols. I love this, the inequality symbols, because it'll be perfect whenever you're working on inequalities and you can have all the options and they have to drag and choose one. So that will really come in handy. You have numbers if you maybe want them to rate things in order or whatnot. And then you have some of these different symbols if you ever wanted to use those as well. Some of these might be good for maybe more of like English and working on punctuation. So we do have some different symbols, and then you can also change the color, but I'm just going to stick with red. So now the slide is updating, so students will be able to drag and drop on the number that they need to find. Let's see, I'm going to go back to the template and check out everything else. Again, another drawing slide. Great when you're working with ordered pairs or any type of graphing. You can have the students draw, and again, I believe you can change the numbers. So this one's a web slide. It will go to Desmo. So if you guys ever use that, maybe more in 8th grade, I believe, that would be really great. And then you can also just have a basic number slide where you type in a problem, whether it's a word problem, just a simple problem, or equation, and they answer by typing in their number. So those are the different slides that we have for math, and I'm going to kind of just leave it there. And we're going to go on to presenting it. So I'm going to name this slide Demo. So when you go over to Pear Deck, let's say you already have this slide already done. So this was the slide from today. It hasn't updated the title yet, but we can present from here. Or if you're already in Google Slides, you open Google Slides, you can start the lesson from here as well. So it's really awesome. So I'm going to do that. So with Pear Deck, they do have student paced and they have instructor paced, just like Nearpod. So the great thing about this is you can turn it off whenever you want. So if I want to do instructor pace now and maybe do student pace later, you can. If you want to do student pace at first and then maybe instructor pace and go back and forth, you can do that too. So I'm just going to choose instructor pace for right now. And it's going to load, and it's always going to be the same website that they go to, joinpd.com. And the great thing about this is you can put this code directly in Google Classroom, so they don't really have to type anything in, and they can just go directly there and get signed in, and it will sign in with their name and everything. So that's great. But I'm just going to go ahead and type joinpd and put in the code and join. So on the student side, this is what they see when they're ready to join your Pear Deck. So I really love this, and you should really encourage your students to do this. It's a really great check-in and restorative practice for them. So you want to know how they're feeling today, because you never know, they could be having a bad day, and that might explain why they're not participating, or maybe why they're acting a certain way. And it would be great for you to go easier on them. So they can check in. So I love that, and that's great. So immediately when the student logs in, they're going to see the first slide, and they're going to be able to immediately start working on it. So what was your main takeaway from the homework? I mean, they can type something. They don't have to. I'm just going to type in some gibberish. And if I wanted to add in another response, I could. So going over to the teacher section, let's just say I only want to give them a certain amount of time to do this. So if I hold down where it says lock screens, I'm going to hold it down, and you can give them a timer. The max amount of time you can give them is 3 minutes though. On Nearpod, it's quite different, but you can always give them more time on the fly if you need to. So on the student side, they'll always be able to see the timer. And again, there's no excuses for not seeing it, because if they try to cover it, it moves. So that's great. Now let's say you gave them too much time. I'm going to say I'm just going to go ahead and lock the screens now. Okay, so what the students see is your teacher has locked the screen, and you'll see the students will see what they submitted. So from here on the teacher side, we can go to show responses. So it's not going to show any student names, so that does stay private, which is good because it gives students the confidence to actually participate in class, especially those shyer students. So you can do grid view or list view, whatever you prefer, but if you had multiple responses, the list view would go all the way down. The grid view would just be a ton of responses here. Okay, so moving on, how was the homework assignment? So this is a draggable question, and for some reason it's blocking this, but it should say students drag the icon, so I'm going to say it was pretty good. So once you drag and you do something on the slide, it gives you a check mark to know you completed it. So again, I can either immediately lock the screen, or I can give them maybe 30 seconds. Once the timer's up, the screens will lock and you can show the responses. So in the draggables, they do an overlay. So you can see everyone's response at once. So I can see if maybe they're more, on the good side, they didn't like the homework, or they're more in the middle. And it's kind of like a dot plot. So you can kind of see the correlation. And if you have a student sign in with maybe their Google account or through Google Classroom, on the teacher side, you would be able to see how many students were signed in, and you'd be able to see their names, and it wouldn't be as anonymous. You can toggle if you want to see names or not as well. So that's also very great. Okay, so you can draw or type two things. This is a drawable slide, so let's just say we're talking about multiplying fractions. So I can draw something, and I know that I just multiply straight across. If I want to type something, I can type text and just click and type. That's what I already know about today's topic. Once I'm done, you can see the little check mark. It automatically saves what they're doing. And when you show responses, a list view, you would have multiple. Grid view, you could see them all at once. It's whatever you prefer, but it's a great talking point, and it's definitely something you want your students to see. So we can talk about what may be wrong and what's correct. So how do you feel about this topic? Well, I feel like I understand. I can keep going on my own. So again, it's going to show you the overlay, so how everyone's feeling. So you would have more dots, maybe in different places, but hopefully you can get a sense of how many dots are where. And from here, you might be like, okay, well, a lot of people, they said they understand, they can keep going. So my favorite feature is you can turn on student pace mode. You could, say, okay, I want you guys to continue working, and at this point, you can go ahead and pull small groups if you'd like with the students who are a little confused or really, really need help. So when we turn on student pace mode, students can freely move around. So maybe we moved on to stretch break. So you can see on my student slide, I went around and I'm just skipping around on the slides, but I'm not moving on my teacher slide. So the students have free access to the rest of the presentation. So again, stretch break, it's on student pace mode, so students can skip past this. Maybe you have instructions for an activity, so students are going to pair up while you're doing your small groups. You can type in the answers, and again, let's just say, I'm going to type in a number, 24. So as students are working, I can kind of go through and I can see the responses. So, okay, no one responded to this yet. Someone responded to this. Okay, you can see, are they doing good? Do we need to stop? And let's just say they got this question completely wrong. Maybe they don't know how to find the volume of the box. So you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to stop student pace mode. And it's going to go back to the exact slide that the students should be seeing on your screen. And you can talk about it. You can lock the screen so they can't answer and they can't be fiddling around throughout the slides or anything like that. So you can lock screens, you can go over it, you can have them try to answer it, and whatnot. So that's kind of the gist of, Peardeck. Let's see what else we have here. So that's it. So also another thing that you can do is you can name the session. So let's just say this is period 2. Say the session name. Also, another thing is the teacher dashboard. So what I really love about this is you can open up the teacher dashboard in a new device, and this is a premium feature. So you might have to ask your principal and see if maybe they can possibly get a premium feature for you. If not, it's really not anything to worry about, but it is really awesome. I can't lie about that. So teacher dashboard, you can open up in a new device. And basically, if you're in instructor-led mode, you can control whatever is showing on your projection screen from a different device. So you can be walking around with your cell phone or a tablet, going through, checking responses, and moving the screen. Even in student pace mode, you can still go through and you can check the different responses while everyone's working and just have it set to one certain slide on the projection screen. So I really love that. So really just what that looks like. I have to do it in a separate window to show you. But you could do this from a different desktop or computer, and it's basically the same thing. You can show responses, lock screens. Another feature you can do is, let's just say the kids need extra practice, and you can think of something on the fly. You can do multiple choice, enter a number. There's just so many different options to choose from, and you really might just want to play around with it. But let's just say it's the end of class. Just pause right now, and what did you learn? So the students, this will pop up on their screen, and they can type in for their exit ticket and be done for the day. So that's really cool. I love that you can add prompts on the fly. You definitely can't do that with other platforms. And see, here's the open roster. So it does have my email, and I can see the mood that I picked and the name. So I love that. Okay. So one more thing I want to go over with Peardeck that no one really ever talks about, but I think is really great to use, is Peardeck Vocabulary. So I'm just going to go through and show you kind of quickly. It's really great for academic vocabulary. So we're talking about math here, so I'm just going to type in some math words. So I have a term, and the great thing about it is it can find definitions for you, although they may not always be the greatest. So I'm just going to type in some things. Rational number, and see what pulls up. Maybe fraction. I like a piece broken off. Let's see, absolute value. And again, you can completely come up with your own definition, something that you guys use in class. But this is just a quick example, just something quick. You can import your list, or you can actually export this list if that's what you wanted to do. But I just want to, again, use this as an example, even though they might not be the best definitions. So we're going to play Flashcard Vocabulary. So again, let me cancel all that stuff out. This is what you will show on your projection screen. And the students are going to have to, again, join pd.com and enter the code. So once they're in, you can see how many workers have joined. This is what your students will see. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your students in groups, and they're going to really just try to make the best vocabulary cards that they can. And then as a whole class, you'll vote on if the cards are good or if you're not going to use them. And the team with the most chosen cards win. And then after that, you can actually make a game kit out of it, and you guys can play a game and use it for study sessions and flashcards. So I really love that aspect as well. But again, it will split your kids up into 2 groups, so 2 different teams. You can shuffle teams if you want and whatnot. So this is what we'll be showing on the projection screen, and you're going to give your kids a certain amount of time to work through this. So they're going to get the definition, and then they're going to go ahead and get the term and then the definition. So it says, draw an example of an integer. So I'm going to do -1. My mouse is just messed up today. And then they're going to ask you to write an example of an integer. Let's just say any negative, positive or negative number, whole number, any. Okay, I'm done writing it. So you have a picture, you have the definition. So you can edit these, or you can send it off and it looks good. So when students are sending off their flashcards, you can actually see the pictures. And rational number, 1/2, 50%, and 0.5, whatever, I'm done. And then you can type something or nothing at all. It won't let you submit. But let's just say we went through all of that, and basically as a class, you'll come together and you'll say, okay, an integer, it's any positive or negative number. Here's a picture. Like, do we like that or do we not like that? So if you like it, you click the check mark. If you don't, you click the X. So let's say we like it. So once we got through all of them, you'll see how many points each team has. And it's like, okay, well then this team won. So you can give some type of prize, maybe a free homework pass, whatever you want to do. And then you can easily export that to GameKit. So you can name it, and then it will go ahead and export it. You can immediately share that to Google Classroom for the students to use, or you can go ahead and just go onto GameKit, sign in, and use it. So I really love that. I think it's a really fun way to go over vocabulary as well as play a game. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave your comments down below. I'll be happy to answer them for you. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more teacher tips.